How's it hanging, people? Hope you're all having a wonderful, peaceful, prosperous, healthy day, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. And that you're in it to win it in a good way. Right? Ethically, morally, and all that good stuff. May you be doing the good work and not the bad work. And on top of all that, I wanted to give you a quick update on what's happening with everybody's favorite crypto, orange coin, the Bitcoin, right? What is happening with the Bitcoin? Well, specifically as it relates to the big holders of it, namely BlackRock, one of the biggest holders, in fact, on planet Earth. And if you think MicroStrategy's got a big bag, and they do, right? Keep in mind, MicroStrategy has more than 200,000 Bitcoin that they've accumulated over the past 4 years, which is a staggeringly fast rate when you consider the price of the coin 4 years ago when they started to buy in. And sure, it dipped down to 15K since then, but it sure bounced back to 70K and beyond. Has been somewhere in the high 60 range, between 74 and 49, but mostly spending time up in the 60K range, 60 to 70K range since then. So they have not been buying them cheap relative to the all-time highs. And yes, they got pretty good deals when they started relative to now. And they got great deals when they bought when the price was quite low in 2022. And also at certain points in 2021. So they've accumulated a nice big fat stack, 200 and whatever it is, 20,000 Bitcoin or something like that, right? And they're buying more, right? We know they're buying another, reportedly going to be buying another $700 million or $900 million worth of Bitcoin whenever. Michael Saylor just keeps, every time he makes these announcements, he's going to buy another $500 million here, billion there. Soon it adds up to real money. Why do I even mention that? Well, because his stack, as big as it is, you have to realize isn't even as big as certain other people or whales or exchanges that exist or governments that hold, right? Like Binance holds more than that. Coinbase holds more than that. And you can say, well, Binance, it's not all their Bitcoin. Well, you're right, but technically, if they're holding it, it's their keys. If they rug pull the world, they got a lot of Bitcoin. Same thing with Bitcoin, with Coinbase. Now you can say, well, Coinbase is a regulated company in the U.S. There's no way they could get away with it. And you're kind of right. In a way, there are rules in place to prevent them from rugging all of their customers. But, exchanges have been known to just suddenly disappear. And the Bitcoins have just been known to become inaccessible. Not saying it's impossible. Not saying it's going to happen. But I'm saying it's not impossible. Who else? Well, the Chinese government owns a few 100,000 coins. That's a lot. And the United States government owns about, 600,000? So you've got, a good half dozen companies or so that have 200,000 or more, companies or governments or whatever, big wallets who have hundreds of thousands of coins or more. And of course, Satoshi has whatever it is, 1 million, 1.1 million, who knows? It's not exactly a known number. You're from. Yes, I'm from. Correct, I'm from. Are you from? And then there's BlackRock. And if you remember, BlackRock is one of these companies that owns everything, right? They have like trillions and trillions. I think it's like $11 trillion under management in their company, and they own basically like shares or some portion of roughly, I think, 80% of all assets on the market. Like literally, okay. So if you think that, if you can think of any company that you know of, that most people know of, pretty much guaranteed they own some piece of it. Might be a tiny piece, but they buy a bit of everything. They are what you call hyper diversified. You are from India. Well, hello, India. Shalom. I'm in Israel right now, where the rockets, fortunately, have not been falling since yesterday. Well, they have been falling, but not right in this spot since yesterday. Hopefully, we won't hear any more of them, but unfortunately, that's the way it's been around here. War sucks. But yeah, sometimes, unfortunately, it's necessary. Hello, sir. Yeah, man. Hello to you, too. So, Bitcoin. So, BlackRock. BlackRock wants you to be broke AF. And I'll say that again. BlackRock wants you to be broke AF. Okay? Why? Well, why do you think they're buying all the damn Bitcoin? You think they're buying it to make sure that you can get a piece of it at a cheap rate? Or do you think they're buying it and have been buying it for years before they said publicly that they were buying it? Because obviously they have, right? Because they want to hold it, because they already own everything. And they'll make little bits of it available here and there when they sell it off at certain points and then rebuy it when it's lower again. Have I eaten? Yes, I have eaten. I'm not a new human. I've eaten in my life. Have you eaten? So BlackRock wants all the damn Bitcoin. Why do you think they've acquired 400,000 of them? Why do you think they're selling ETFs of Bitcoin? What are Bitcoin ETFs? They're derivatives. They're pieces of paper that say this paper is equivalent to X amount of Bitcoin, when it's not, of course. Right? Yeah, sure. In theory, you can convert it as long as that Bitcoin is still, in their bag and they have it to swap. But when you cash out of your Bitcoin ETF, they're giving you currency. They're not giving you Bitcoin. You need to then go and buy Bitcoin from somewhere. And you're not getting it from BlackRock. Not unless you have some access to their bags. Because they're not selling Bitcoin directly to you, right? Well, unless you're some kind of super duper customer. They want all the damn Bitcoin. You understand me? Like, if you have any, if you could have 1%, you could have a 0.5%, half of 1%, they're going to want that too. Trust me. I am subscribed to you. Oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. What is it? Or not anorexic? No, I'm definitely not anorexic. 10 hisk, I don't know what that means. But hello, 10 hisk sacked. Anyway, yeah, I mean, Bitcoin wants all the damn Bitcoin. Bitcoin wants the Bitcoin. BlackRock wants all the damn Bitcoin, and so do the other big holders like MicroStrategy, and even big governments like the U.S. government, and other big exchanges like Binance and Kraken and Gemini. They want it all. They don't want you to have any, okay? Now, they might sell you the idea that they want you to have some, but in truth, they don't want you to have any. If they wanted you to have some, they would have made it evidently clear by not boosting all of it when it was relatively cheap. And they would have allowed retail to continue trading it amongst retail. But they didn't do that, did they? They gave you the ETFs that you said you wanted. Retail marketers, retail market buyers. You all said, oh, we want ETFs. Why? I kept saying, why do you want ETFs? They're not good for retail. ETFs are only good for people who want the price only to go up. Unless you have big bags already full of Bitcoin, you should not want the price to only go up if you want to accumulate. Please stand in one place. Okay, I'm standing in one place. Does that help? If you are a retail trader or retail investor of Bitcoin, you should want Bitcoin to fluctuate. Am I a former? I don't know what that means. Yeah, I'm a former. I'm also a current, and I'm also a future. Oh, there you go. I just arrived into a future from right before. So you should not want Bitcoin to only be an asset that goes only up, right? Unless you have such big bags already that you don't care if it only goes up. You're happy that it only goes up. But guess what? That is not 99.9999% of people, right? 99.9999% of people don't have huge bags. Probably like you. You have modest bags if you're lucky. Or no bags if you're like most people. Which means you should want the price to remain volatile. And that means it will distribute and mean revert for a long time. A lot. So that you can buy low and sell high. That's how you accumulate. And if you don't do that, well, then it's going to be quite a challenge for you to accumulate significant amounts. It's going to be harder for you to get big bags of Bitcoin. Why do I say that? Well, because if the price keeps going up, the asset is only more expensive. And the people selling you that asset are just making more money off of you when you buy from them. And hey, maybe you're a whale. Congratulations. I hope you enjoy your profits. I mean that sincerely. But there are most people who want to get into Bitcoin who are not whales, who will never be whales, who have nothing close to being a whale. They're certainly not going to be Bitcoin whales. If they're lucky, they'll be whales in some other asset. But they're not going to be Bitcoin whales. Let's just get that straight. 91% of all the Bitcoin that will ever be mined is already owned by 13,500 wallets or people or whatever. 91% of all of it that can ever exist. Imagine again, I said it before, I'll say it again. Imagine if 91% of all the fiat that could ever exist was owned by 13,500 people. How would you feel about that? But Bitcoin's supposed to be the future of all finance, right? The entire world is supposed to operate on 9% of all the Bitcoin that can ever be. By the way, of the 9% that the whales don't already own, 3% is owned by retail. 3, as in less than 1/30th of what the whales hold. 3%. And the other 6% has yet to be mined. Okay, so 3.5% is owned by retail because about 5.5% remains to be mined. Whatever. 3.5%, 3%, whatever. Hell, do you want to round it up? You want to call it 4%? Okay, call it 4%. It's not 4%, but call it that. Do you think the remaining 6% or 5% are going to all go to retail, and that somehow retail is going to have 10% of all the Bitcoin, and the big fat whale, or they're going to have 9% of all the Bitcoin, and the whales are just going to stay happy at 91%? Like, do you really think that? I mean, for real. Do you think, comment in the chat, do you think that people who have massive bags have more money than they'll ever need for generations, like they have billions of dollars, so that can actually last more than a few generations if they have non-stupid financial planning, even if they have idiotic children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren? Still, with $1 billion or more, financial planners, as long as they're secured into the job, or the companies that have those financial planners are secured into the job, can make sure that those people for generations will have money. But everyone who's not already a billionaire, or at least has, $500 million, no, that's not going to happen. You're going to lose your money within 3 generations, whether you like it or not. Statistically, that's just a fact. Yeah, you might be the outlier, and your children and their progeny might be the ones to beat the odds. But like more than 99% of people who make their own fortune and have anywhere even up to $100 or $200 million, their children and their grandchildren and their great-grandchildren will hold on to it and then lose it, and then completely lose it by the 3rd generation. If they're lucky, it'll last 3 generations until it's gone. If they're lucky. So do you think that the people that own 91% of the entire potential supply that there can ever be, the entire max cap of Bitcoin, you really think that they're going to be satisfied just having 91% when they know they can get more? And they can get more just by buying more? Like, you actually think they're just going to stop wanting to have this asset that they've already dominated? Or do you understand that they're going to do everything that they can to literally buy as much or all of it as they can? Think about that. What would you do? Let me go full hoodie on this. Okay. Let me go here. I'll go Satoshi full hoodie for you. All right. What would you do if you had massive bags of Bitcoin right now? We're talking hundreds of thousands or more Bitcoin. Okay. Hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin that you have control over. Doesn't matter if you're a corporation or an individual. And you were among those 13,000 people who own 91% of all of it. Would you just suddenly be like, this thing is obviously going to zero, I'm just going to dump it now before it hits 70K again? Is that what you would do? Think about it. If you already have, hundreds of thousands of coins as an individual, that means even if you sold a few just to keep a few $1 million in the bank so you always have some money, so you're never, quote unquote, broke, right? You have billions in Bitcoin. Billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. More money than you could ever possibly need as a human being. Sure, you can spend more than that in a lifetime if you really wanted to, but you don't need to. Right? You can certainly live on less than billions of dollars. Most people do that. Would you just suddenly, feel like, I'm just going to dump this on the market and make the prices go back down to very cheap and let the retail buyers get it? And somehow I'm going to block all the huge whales who are my competitors, and I'm going to somehow stop them from buying any, which you can't do because Bitcoin doesn't work like that. You can't stop people from buying it. The only way anybody can stop anyone from buying it is if people don't sell it. If you sell yours, put on the market, all right? If you put on the open market, not just OTC privately sold to somebody or peer-to-peer sold to somebody. If you put it on the market, it's on the market. Anyone can buy it. Is that what you would do? Or would you keep it? Or if you suddenly lost belief in it, would you sell it privately to other huge whales that you know can afford to pay you a premium to acquire it because they want it more than the average buyer? They're buying everything available on OTC. In case you don't know, OTC means over the counter, which is like through private deals, right? Not on the open market. And big banks are paying premiums to OTC deals to buy as much Bitcoin as they possibly can. Remember, in the first 6 months of 2024, this year, right after the ETFs launched, after the Bitcoin ETFs were released to the public, the top 9 banks bought like 500,000 Bitcoin. BlackRock bought 100,000 just in their own name. In addition to buying, by the way, their own ETF, they bought ETFs that they printed. And they bought Bitcoin. They're not stopping. When you have so many trillions under management in a market that's only worth about $1 trillion, $1.5 trillion, your assets under management dwarf the entire Bitcoin market. In fact, they dwarf the entire crypto market many times over. You think that buying whatever it is, 2% of the Bitcoin market scares them? No, it doesn't. They're perfectly happy to own 2% of the Bitcoin market, and they want more. And the reason we know they want more is because they keep buying more. And we keep seeing it in their SEC filings, which they have to file because they're a publicly traded company. So what does that mean for you? What it means is that this asset is running out of supply. This asset is not decentralized. This asset, as decentralized as the tech is not decentralized in its distribution far more than fiat is not decentralized in its distribution. Let's do a real quick thing here. Half of the world's net worth, half belongs to the top 1%. Not 91%. Half. The top 10% of adults hold 85% of all the wealth. The top 10%. That means out of 8 billion people, 800 million of them own 85%. Still not 90%, 91%. And the bottom 90% own the remaining 15%, which is still more than, or less people that own in proportion to what the bottom owners of Bitcoin own. And the top 30% of adults hold 90% of the total wealth. Keep that in mind. The bottom 90% hold the remaining 15% of the world's total wealth. 90% of the people own 15% of the world's total wealth. %99 of Bitcoin holders own 3% of the max supply. That's it. 99, more than 99%, right? What is, how many, anybody do the math? Do the math with me. Let's say there's 250 million crypto. How many Bitcoin wallets are there right now? 100 something million, right? 150 million? Half a billion? Whatever, let's see. How many Bitcoin wallets? As of March, 46 million Bitcoin wallets with at least $1. The figure is based on unique addresses. 460 million Bitcoin wallets have been created, but most are inactive or hold less than $1. So 46 million have at least $1. 46 million. Right? So 46 million. Divided by 8 billion, just is 0.00575. In other words, 0.006%. 0.006% of the world has a Bitcoin wallet with $1 in it or more. That's it. 46 million. That's practically nothing. In the world of 8 billion people, that ends more than 8 billion people, but we'll just say 8 billion. So 0.005, less than a half, right, or slightly more than a half of 1% if you round it up, 0.00575, round it up to 0.006. 0.6% of the world has a Bitcoin wallet with at least $1 in it. Of those, 13,500 divided by that same 8 billion. $0.0000016875. That is the percentage of people that own 91% of all the Bitcoin. I read the number to you again. 0.0000016875. That's 13,500 divided by 8 billion to give you the percentage. So 16/10,000ths, or rounded it up, 17/10,000ths of a percent. 17/10,000ths of 1%. That's the number of people that own 91% of all the Bitcoin there can ever be. 17/10,000ths of 1% of humanity. You want to tell me that there's equal distribution with this coin? Fiat is clearly better distributed than Bitcoin. That's not even a question. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means that stuff has high demand by people who have huge amounts of money. It does not mean that it has necessarily high demand for people who don't have a lot of money. How do you know that? Well, there's only 46 million accounts or wallets with at least $1 of Bitcoin in it. That's it. 46 million wallets have some Bitcoin in them. That's not a lot of people on Earth. Less, this is 0.006, right? So 0.6%. It's 5 3/4, 0.00575. So 0.6 or 5.75 tenths, if you want to be specific, of 1% of humanity has $1 or more. And if you have $1 of Bitcoin in a wallet, it ain't never going to get you rich, okay? If you're just holding on to $1. Even if in 100 years from now, Bitcoin is worth whatever astronomical number, $1 is $1. And yeah, it's going to be worth less and less over time. And even if Bitcoin goes up insanely, $1 worth of Bitcoin today maybe will be worth $100 or $1,000 in 100 years, but it's not going to be getting you rich. So 46 million addresses of Bitcoin that have $1 or more. The amount that actually have any significant number that you could do anything with, not even life-changing, just live for some months or retire on or whatever, is tiny. Why am I telling you this? Am I saying this to you to get you to stay away from Bitcoin? No, actually, I'm not. Am I telling you this to make you want to buy Bitcoin? No, actually, I'm not. I'm telling you this so that you realize how rare and scarce this thing is and how much demand it has among people who already have more money than they'll ever need. And they want to make sure you don't. It's that simple. They don't want you to have any. Don't take my word for it. They don't want you to have any. That's going to do it for now. If y'all want to learn how to trade Bitcoin and other assets, go to alphatradinghq.com/Discord. Again, that's alphatradinghq.com/Discord. Go into the request support channel, click the create a ticket button, and then request your free access to the volatility starter pack of indicators and the free chart, and you'll get all kinds of educational info that you need. You'll get access to the live chat with real VEPS traders in real time. You'll get access to the live stream in real time where you can participate not just by chat, but in the Discord, you can also participate by voice because the whole point of the live stream is to educate. So we like answering questions. And those start at 9 a.m. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. U.S. Eastern time. So, yeah, if you want, feel free to join. Always a great live stream over there. And get your intraday probabilities. Learn how to read them. Learn how to read the charts. Learn to use the charts yourself with the tools that we give you for free. That'll do it for now, folks. Happy Bitcoining. Happy trading. And see ya.